Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions, let's talk about Final Fantasy XV. We'll talk about the 3 Hatcher units coming out. They will be released in Global very soon. And this will just be an overview video, just kind of some top-line thoughts on each unit, and then some impressions of watching them in JP the last 4 months. Plenty of other folks out there have made videos about the individual skills and stuff. But first, let's talk about Noctis. I was kind of interested to get him. I did some polls, but gave up after a little while. And I really enjoyed using him in Brave Exvius. He didn't have a lot of fans, his first version that came out, because he could do a lot of stuff, but he wasn't the best at anything. He didn't do the most damage, he didn't chain well, he did breaks and things, but they weren't the best breaks. He could heal a little bit, but they weren't the best heals. But I loved the versatility of his kit, and so I got like my first clear of Igaion using him as my breaker. That was very gratifying. But he kind of plays the same way in War of the Visions, sort of a kind of a utility character. He can do a lot of things, but he's not the best at anything. And so for that reason, he might be frustrating for some players to use. He's kind of like a sub-attacker, sub-tank. He can't lead a team in any way, but he's a great piece to have in there. And then, if you had Oberon, and then you wanted to make like a dynamic duo that kind of exists in this game, like Helena Dwayne, or Cloud Charlotte, or 2B Tifa, or Mont Gracida, if you wanted to make the Earth version of that, that would be Oberon Noctis. They work really well together, have good damage output, and they are hard to take down. And a lot of what Noctis does is stuff that Oberon doesn't do, like Barrier Break. So if you did not have another of those dynamic duos, and then you did have Oberon, I could highly recommend that you go for Noctis. But he is more kind of a true bruiser. He has kind of the toughness of a tank, and so his strategy, or the way he's going to work, is to sort of outlast the opponent, take hits while doing more damage himself. Again, not going to be top tier damage, but respectable. One nice thing about Noctis is that he has a variety of attack types, slash and strike and pierce, and then he can like move in between different ones very easily. So if he goes against an opponent with very high resistance of one of those types, the AI will select the other one automatically, get the better damage. And then he has barriers too, but only against physical, which is limited. I kind of feel the same way about Cecil. It's pretty limiting. But he does have a spirit buff, which is very unique. It's also an AoE spirit buff, and that'll be really nice to put onto Oberon. He can also give himself Protect, which is one of the better defensive abilities in the game, and very difficult to get rid of as well. And then he has a 100% hit attack, which would be really good against evade teams, which are super strong right now in JP. Alright, next let's talk about Prompto. He will be a handout unit. He is a Dark Element Gunner. And continuing the tradition of very powerful handout characters, Prompto is no slouch. He's kind of the one that I regret not building the second most, maybe the most being Tifa. He works best on a Dark Element team, which is not too much of an ask because Dark is very powerful and then lots of people have the Dark units. But he can lower Dark resistance, and then he can also do Dispel. I don't know if any of the other Dark units can do Dispel. I know that like Dwayne, Helena, and Superstern can't, so that's a very nice support skill to have. You can, erase people's hate, that kind of thing. And then Dwayne and then Helena being one of those dynamic duos, it'd be very easy to slot Prompto in there and then get really good support for those 2 units. Alright, and then finally is Aranea. I will do a level 120 review of her, maybe this weekend or something. But compared to Noctis, if you were someone that was debating between Noctis or Aranea, and then you did not like kind of a jack of all trades like Noctis, you wanted a more simple character that did more damage, Aranea would be the one. And I've been very satisfied with her. Somebody asked if she was like a cost 90 version of Oberon, and I think that's fair. She doesn't have quite the AoE of Oberon, but otherwise I think that's a fair comparison. She does top tier damage, but not against a bunch of people at once. If you can gather people together into her limit break, that's ideal. I've done that a few times. If you look back at any of my PvP videos from the last few months, you'll see a lot of Noctis and Prompto, but to see Aranea, you have to watch my videos. But Aranea is pretty versatile as an attacker, and then she can do some support stuff as well. She has the Pugilist subjob, which is great. She will often use that when I use her. Good way to cut through defenses, because strike damage is still kind of the hardest to guard against. She can also dispel, she can also get rid of guts, and then she can break single target resistance, which is still a rare debuff, and also very hard to guard against. I don't think there's any single target break resistance, except for like the resistance to all breaks. The thing about Aranea is that it's not so much an issue with her as it is an issue of the environment. Fire is really strong, and like Megamont is everywhere, and he's very easy to splash into other element teams. And then if you wanted a kind of a tank in order to protect Aranea, you would have to go off element. The only ice one is Nausea, or you could use the level 99 Agrius. Aranea, her stock might jump after Agrius gets her EX job. And then Aranea, I have good memories of her as well from Brave Exvius. I used her to get my first clear of Bahamut. That was pretty epic. But yeah, Dragoons, I love Dragoons. Really happy to have her. Okay, short and sweet video here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.